Yo, what's good? It's your boy No Name. Let's get right into it. I gotta show y'all this new build, right? Uh finished up my Icicle Mine Trickster. I have a video coming on that soon. Just talk about how I actually did things with the character to make my money. As you'll see, I actually have a decent amount of money. Almost all of this was actually made on the Trickster. Actually, yeah. All of this was definitely made on the Trickster. I kind of just spent a whole lot of it on streams tonight, getting some stuff done with my character. But let me show you where we're at with the Ignite IB character. It's worth noting, by the way, when you see the PLB in the description, this gear is not what's necessary to play the character. Like, this chest piece is way overkill. I just finally wanted to start getting serious about upgrading it, so we're getting ready to go into some new setups that I'll talk about later in the video. But I played the character with a chest piece like, where is it at? It's in my sales tab now. This is my chest piece from before, literally just life reses and implicits. That's all I had before. I had to craft something a little bit more specialized because I'm trying to get a little bit deeper into the character now. But for about like 8 to 10 divines, honestly, this character got off the ground really, really efficiently. You just take out some of the reservation gear as you go. Like the scaling of reservation just started to really prove itself. But again, let me show you what I'm on about first, and then I will talk about the build because I just want you to see first and foremost that it works. Because you probably read the title, so this thumbnail was like, "What in the world is this brother cooking?" Man's talking about Ignite IB. What? So yeah, just take a look at this. Like, it's mapping. I mean, it's Ignite clear, right? Like you've seen this before. We know how this goes. I'm kind of sad there was no deli on this one. I've been mapping with the stream of consciousness and not really using any sextants yet. That's the plan for tomorrow's stream. Just going to be going him. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the expedition. Okay, the expedition is like the true showcase. And of course, you know, by the way, if you're running expedition this league, you should totally use the big bomb because the big bomb just feels good, right? If you're asking why, also running Eater mostly because at the time that I picked up Eater, my build could not really handle Exarch. I was literally just not doing damage against Exarch monsters. It was kind of embarrassing. My damage is a lot better now than it was then. Obviously, I've upgraded my gear a ton. There's some stuff that I want to talk about for budget options as well there. But the overall progression of the character. Oh, there was a deli mirror on the map. I just missed it on my way in because I wasn't really being diligent because I wanted to get through the showcase. Right. Quick map. I think also side note, the new hideout, the new device in the mystery box, fucking love it. Just because it's a timer on my map, so I can see how bad I am at the game. It's also pretty impressive how fast some of my builds actually do complete maps. All right, so boss dead. You'll notice that the shield charge actually like applies a pretty decent sized ignite. Can definitely kill entire packs already. I will probably transition this character towards shield charge later, just because it'll be really funny. And then for their favorite part. There's a Benevolent Guardian in there, I think. Doesn't really matter, though. The whole fucking pack gets... The whole expedition gets laid out like crazy. It's wild. We love it. I don't even see anything of any value in here. You know, click the boxes. Usually I skip this part when I'm recording showcases, but I really want to make sure that I get all the artifacts because it was actually my boy fucking Tujin. Then we come out the map. Little over 2 minute map. That shit feels great, right? So this is my new character. Ignite, Infernal Blow. Elementalist. Let me tell you, playing a melee witch was not on my board for 2023, but I think it's definitely the right pick. This has actually been an incredible amount of fun. So let's talk about the core concept, right? The concept starts with these two gems down here. Controlled Blaze and Volatility support are both new supports that were added this league, and it was actually the core inspiration for this idea. If you had been watching my stream before the league started, you would have seen that I brought this PLB up a couple times on stream as I was just like fiddling around with the idea a little bit. And with my little bit of money, I said, fuck it, we're going to push some money into this idea, see if I can really get it jumping. So here we are, right? Controlled Blaze support is a new single target focused support for melee ignite characters, where the whole idea is that you want to actually hit fast. Because for a skill like EQ, for example, if you do like EQ ignite, for example, you only hit that one time, right? You get that one you get the initial hit and then the big shockwave, and that's only 2 hits, so you're not really getting that much value out of Controlled Blaze, and you get another support. But with Infernal Blow on a single target, I get about 11 to 12 stacks of Controlled Blaze, which with 11 to 12 stacks of Controlled Blaze, my damage, this support is by far is actually the best support in the game. It provides even more damage than Trinity support actually provides in single target, which is incredible. The only downside to this is, of course, in clear, I apply well over 26, my bad, well over 26 ignites in 4 seconds. So the support actually does nothing in AoE, but that's fine. You're in Ignite build. You don't need a support that does anything in AoE. Getting huge single target for my melee ignite and allowing me to use faster weapons was a big part of what maybe even inspired to play this character in the first place. Because melee ignite has always been like slow ice crash or EQ or something, and I wanted something with a little bit more jazz to it, a little bit more speed to it. And the other half of that being now volatility support is the second new one that was added, which I knew this support was going to be a banger when I first saw it get added. It just reminds me of, if you've ever seen Rosalta's Coil, the Fizz belt that does a similar thing. 30 to 40 more, 30 to 40 less Fizz, and that one has been a staple in Fizz melee builds forever, especially bleed characters like the bleed bow character I played last league used the Rizlathos the entire time. So I knew that this was going to also end up being incredible, and I was right. It is in fact incredible. You can tell when you low and high roll, obviously, but like when you high roll, like it high rolls. So other pieces in here, right? Other links, if you're curious, are multi-strike. This is actually necessary. It doesn't really help in your clear that much. Like the attack speed is nice for clear, but the like for just actually swinging the sword faster, but it doesn't actually do that much damage in clear because it's relying on you actually hitting multiple times, and you're not trying to hit multiple times in clear. Ancestral Call, another support with no goddamn damage on it, but it's because you can't play strike skills without multi-target, and the strike range actually feels incredible. And then Wed, a regular damage link. Burning damage is also viable here. They both work. So that's it. And then Infernal Blow. So let's talk about why Infernal Blow, because I think this will like wrap together the whole concept, right? So the whole idea behind why Infernal Blow is the way that the debuff charges work. So Infernal Blow, when you hit the enemy, boom, you do damage. Then it applies this debuff on them that stacks, as you see in the description, either up to 6 times, or if it falls off, or if the enemy dies and then it explodes. So the emphasis here is really on the up to 6 stacks. If we want to talk about a way to actually do single target damage, it's through the 6 stacks. With 6 stacks of this going off, you do, what is it? About 400% of your damage, roughly. I think that's not exactly right. It's something like it's something. It's supposed to be 400%, I think, based on the wording, but PLB has it showing at 334%. They're both fine. I don't really know exactly which one it's supposed to be. Just know that it is a lot more damage than your regular melee hit when you stack it all the way up. And so this is also now a part of why we use multi-strike, because multi-strike will feed into that with the percent more damage from the multi-strike multiplier. Right, so then you'll go bop, 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 and it basically comes out a 22% more damage multiplier for your attack, for your ignite, but you got those attacks off much quicker because you want the speed so that you can fish through volatility to get good ignites. Because that's the thing, right? The more times you can get those big ignites off, the more likely it is that you'll actually roll the right roll in setting this up. And so then it pops on the big target and it dies. And so you're thinking now, what that clear though had nothing to do with this, right? Yeah, it has absolutely nothing to do with that part of the build. The things that make the clear feel good are, so Infernal Blow has its own explosion on death, which also causes enemies to explode and removes their corpses. Really nice for porcupines if I can actually melee the porcupines. There's 2 all qualities for Infernal Blow, by the way, related to this. One of them is high damage, Divergent. It is a lot of percent burning damage. It would increase my DPS by about 8 to 9%. But there's also an all quality that makes the explosion have a chance to apply the debuff to affected targets. And I am considering putting that on instead, just to make my clear whenever I run into a porcupine map a little bit safer, because I need the enemy to actually explode in order to not kill me. That's just one of the 2 things that really has been gripping my character outside of my brain cells. You know how that goes. So, but that's the core of the idea behind the build for this. And then so now how do we get our damage? Well, Elementalist, obviously one of our top Ignite Ascendancies in the game. I feel like this Ascendancy path thing is pretty standard. Take Bubble because you don't want to die, and you still die anyways because you're an Elementalist. It would have been really embarrassing if I died in that showcase, to be honest. But so then, Exposure, Convergence, Shaper of Flames. Shaper Flames is really the core of how I'm getting my damage, and then the other options are just standard options to keep the character moving. But we're using Shaper of Flames alongside multiple sources of flat across the board. So we have like Wrath and Anger, for example. For large amounts of flat, we have a Smite that I believe is over here. Yeah, here we go. We have a Smite for even more lightning damage. Could also go Vol Smite, but we haven't gotten there. I didn't think I wanted to do that yet. I could do it, but it doesn't really matter that much. Then the rest of the links are pretty standard stuff. Things that give me attack speed and frenzies for mapping faster. My combustion is on a frost blink because frost blink is guaranteed to ignite through Shaper of Flames. So that's the idea there. And then lots of auras, lots of auras. If you notice here, I have 6 auras active. And that's another thing that's actually pretty important to how this character is scaled. You'll see how fast my attack speed is. And if you've ever played a melee witch before, one, get help. But 2, if you've never played a melee witch before, then you know that you have very little access to actual attack speed on your tree, right? If I just like do a search for an attack speed, you'll see it's like this wheel over. It's just like precision. If you go spiritual command, and that's about it. And so our solution, especially given that this weapon is pretty slow at 1.55, which we're going to talk about this as well, because this is another part of the core of the build. But since it's also slow, I was like, I need to get more attack speed. Enter my jewels. These are, I allocate Commander of Darkness, the Necro Ascendancy node for attack and cast speed per aura affecting you, as well as res and damage. The res actually pretty helped me fix up my suffixes a little bit because I have so many uniques on, and the aura, like I gain so much attack speed that even just adding in a new aura gives me about 0.11 attacks per second right now. And I'm looking at getting my aura effect even higher so that I can do that, get that like increased further. That's just things that I'm going to be wasting money on. All right, so the last core piece to this build is in fact Story of the Vault, because I'm using one-handed melee. Well, to do one-handed melee ignite, you would think that it would do so much worse damage than a two-hander, because two-handers have way bigger flat damage rolls on it, right? And normally you'd be right, except Story of the Vault still exists. This line here at the bottom, ignites inflicted with this weapon deals 75% more damage. This mod is actually one of a kind. Not necessarily not one of a kind, but it's of a breed that has died. To be more frank, over a year ago now, I can't remember exactly what league, but this modifier used to exist in different forms across other weapons, not specifically just for ignite, but like there was the 60% chance for bleeds inflicted with this weapon to deal 100% more damage on elder bows, and also for poison on elder bows. Or if you look at like Pathfinder's Ascendancy has one of the only versions of this remaining where you have a percent chance to deal more damage with your poisons during flask effect. This used to be an effect on rare weapons, but it no longer is an effect on rare weapons, and only uniques such as Story of the Vault and Darkscorn have it available on them. And so that's a large part of what limits what certain options can be part of these builds. Now, of course, for poison, this hasn't stopped anybody because pneumatic daggers are extremely broken with the elemental flat stacking. But we can't do that, so we don't have a good option for that for ignite. So instead, Story of the Vault, which this weapon has no damage and pretty piss poor attack speed, but 75% more damage with ignites means I could just layer on all the flat lightning and fire and cold in the world and do damage that way. And here's what this weapon always ignite, freeze, and shock, which opens up some opportunities for people who are a little bit more curious about other ascendancies, because you don't actually have to fix your ignite chance using this weapon, no matter what ascendancy you're on. I'm just an elemental, so the ignite part is irrelevant, but the shock has been nice because I do actually get shocks to trigger on enemies, and I can freeze the primary target that I hit if they're like a small enough enemy, which is pretty funny hearing the shatter sound like randomly on my map. So, talk a little bit about the gear. Note some of this stuff is not necessary by any means. It's just stuff that I've like invested in to make go further, like stuff that I just didn't have. So let me show you, for example, these gloves are things that I crafted. These gloves do exactly what I need them to do, which is fill in my suffixes. I needed attributes and accuracy. Then I got +2 AoE for all of my auras. And I crafted ES because I actually needed it for my Divine Blessing. Now, it's exposure and ignite spread gloves. Like, it's simple enough. Ignite spread let me take out Ignite Prolift from my link socket, as well as also allowing the spread to apply. Oh my god, no, I can't type. The spread now also applies to my pops from elsewhere. I'll show you where all the pops I have, because that's probably ways to clear feel good. And then the exposure just let me drop the Wave of Conviction button so I could, free up gem space. Because one of the biggest things that's constraining me right now, especially as I get further and further in optimization, is that I don't have sockets for all the things that I want to do. Like I want to add in a level 1 clarity at some point. There's no sockets for that. I need to start leveling my vitality again, right? Because I just did some upgrades up before recording this video, but I haven't actually played to like do anything with them. That was my first map actually in the showcase since the upgrades I did at the end of my stream. Now I have a Blizzard Crown. This has actually been with me like this for quite a while. The enchant is kind of new, but you don't need the enchant. It just made it even better. Life, Reservation, Chaos, Rest, Dex. Ideally, I get one of these with a prefix as well that I need because I need a specific. I need the Fizz Taken as Fire prefix on here to go with my chest. Because we're gonna move away from the Dawnbreaker soon. But Dawnbreaker was an incredible budget shield to get me to where I'm at. This is like an incredible defensive shield for Elementalists, by the way. Just being able to take that much Fizz as Fire, really point away from your weak point, feels great. The core unique, so here our Deity and Dawn is a mandatory unique for all fucking attacking night builds, which kind of sucks because my original plan for this build was going to use Utula's Hunger to fix my HP. Then I remembered that this build has life, so can't do anything about that. But this is incredibly high damage, and you should attack Catalyst it so that you also get slightly more leech against things that are on the Frostblink. And then Legacy of Fury, the big boom. If you've seen the giant fire rings in that map that I did, Legacy of Fury is why. It does a lot of damage to things nearby you and applies Scorch. The Scorch is pretty meaty, but the big thing is that it just, it AoEs down everything. Makes my clear feel really good. Those are some core pieces. Polaric is just a really high damage ring. Like, you don't need this. It just feels good for damage. We're going to be adding a Death Rush here soon, but I have to finish crafting some more gear to make that upgrade work. We're going to go like Death Rush, Sapples, and a better helmet with my Fizz Taken as. And my Fizz, like I said, it's going to be incredible. Flask or usual Flask stuff. I just wanted some Flask. I covered all my weaknesses up. And then the other things here for mechanical stuff that I want to talk about, I some interesting tree stuff going on that made this even feel even better for me. It does have a lot of HP for a person with very little life on gear, or at least now it's really starting to show. These tattoos are why. I have a Warrior's Tail socketed with honored tattoos of the oak here. This one's not actually in radius, but I have 6 honored tattoos of the oak, and I could have had a 7th, but I value the strike range more. These are basically small life passives. Like, look over here, right? Like, this is a 4% life passive right here, but I now have that on these small passives within this radius. Feels incredible. I'm going to put some more tattoos of the oak as we go on to continue to increase my life because my int is extremely unnecessary. And I don't really need like chaos res or anything else, so I'll probably use it mostly on life or like rarity, maybe if I'm feeling when I'm feeling better about the character. I tattoo all of my strength off into strike range. That's why I needed to roll strength on my gear. Because I have strength, this strength roll, then I shred it on my gloves, and I had strength on the alls that I have catalysted, right? Like, we needed a lot of strength, but it was very worth it. Then jewels. My cluster is pretty standard. This is a very expensive cluster. This costed me 5 chaos or 5 divs. I would say that if you were going for this cluster, it's more important to have Doriani's Lesson at the front than it is to have Sadist at the front, but I paid 5 div to have both. There's only this one combination, Sadist, Corrosive Elements, and Doriani's that gets both of these at the front. And this allows me to have efficient cluster to get my 2 jewels in at. Otherwise, the tree's pretty standard. I have a Timeless Jewel here to fix my decks up some more. I do recommend getting this. This one in particular is pretty good. It gives me 16% R effect, which is pretty strong, and LE damage. I'm gonna probably upgrade it to another R effect node here as well when I get the chance. And that's kind of all there is, right? This character's still upgrading and growing. If you want to see more of it, you should come check me out on Twitch. I'll have the link in the description for that as well. And I'll have the PLB so you can see where we're currently at. And we're still growing this character because this character is fast and I love it. I'm having a great time. If you want to play Infernal Blow and you like playing melee witches for some reason, this could be fun for you. I can't guarantee that this works as a starter, however. This is a little bit of a weird starter thing to do, but it feels great as a fucking map blaster after playing a boss or all league. Anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for checking out. Have a great one. Take care.